I'm here to talk about getting goosebumps with recruitment marketing. Some people know me as Google Dave. I'm from an agency based in the centre universe in Liverpool called PH Creative. We've also got an office down here now by Liverpool Street. Had to be Liverpool Street. And we've got one in New York, and we're going to open one on the West Coast. And I always feel like I have to say on the West Side when I say West Coast. So it's all good, and we work on talent attraction, employer brand, EVP, and all that really, really good stuff, and candidate experience. And some people say to me, why is it getting goosebumps? So myself and Bri is over there in his pink shirt, ignoring me, as usual. We wrote a book about getting goosebumps. And basically, if you create an amazing experience for people, it gives them goosebumps, and the brain releases dopamine, and you remember it forever. And you all remember these things, but it's not necessarily the action, it's the feeling that you remember that releases dopamine into your brain, you remember it forever. And as a marketeer, if we can aspire to create goosebumps in people through emotion and connection, people will remember you, and you can actually then, hopefully, connect and weave in some messages. And so we're going to talk about that. Everything I'm going to talk about today, I was told half an hour, God knows how long it's going to last. If you follow that bit.ly, recruit marketing, you can get everything. We give all this stuff away. We really believe in just helping, very much about helping as an agency. So where does it start? So we talk about candidate experience, customers, employee experience, but actually it's just a people experience. And how do we go about understanding what that really means? Because we start at the candidate journey, there's some kind of stimulus, they become a candidate, and then they become an employee. And how we treat them and how we make them feel is that brand experience. And how we connect through emotion first is really important throughout that journey, and even when they leave us. In America, LinkedIn are brilliant with the, I get this wrong all the time, alumni. Yes! Got it right. Fuck for that. So the alumni, they're brilliant at bringing them back. In hospitality, if you work in pubs, chefs are a pain in the arse because it's very transient and they leave, but they come back. It's like this boomerang thing. So how you treat them even when they're gone is really important, And candidates don't give a shit. Okay, they just don't care. How many people remember the billboard that you saw when you come here? How many people remember the job adverts that they see spread everywhere across job boards, across LinkedIn? They are everywhere, and we ignore them. We see 10,000 links a day online. No one gives a shit. No one cares. We're very much in the place where if somebody wants to know something, you jump on your phone and you start searching, and we want to make smarter, better informed decisions. Marketing isn't a method or a process, it's a conversation. And you've got to be part of that conversation. It's not just throw out a message and something's going to happen. That's not how it works anymore. The candidates are in control. The people are in control. You can't just throw messages out and hope something's got to stick. It's not about them seeing it. It's about them caring for it. That's what matters. It's candidate-controlled marketing. Who knows what this is? Siri. This is my son, a.k.a. Google Junior's first girlfriend. Right? I kid you not. Last year, I'm sat there, I'm on the sofa, and he's on his phone. He starts talking to Siri about his history lesson. I'm like, what are you doing? And he starts getting his history answers off Siri. He's now dumped Siri. He's with Alexa. So human behavior's changing. Has anybody used Siri? Has anybody used Alexa? Anyone got an Alexa? Okay, probably about 20%. Has anyone got Google Home? Okay, well, cool. The gadget guy over there has got one of them. So, but in America, Cortana, for example, 63% of under 16-year-olds use it to speak to. Okay, and that's not millennials. That's Generation Z. And everyone's talking about millennials. What about Generation Z? So human behavior is important, because if we don't fine-tune our messages to where they are, they ain't going to see it, and they definitely ain't going to care about it. So how are you going to connect? And there's a difference between, is it make them do something, or do we want to encourage them and make them want to do something? And there's a real difference there. It's about encouragement. It's about nurturing. If you saw Scott from Candidate ID, it's about nurturing people along and touching them multiple times so you build a relationship with them. That's what's important. We need to encourage people to want to do what we want them to do. Don't just make them do it. ATSs do this all the time. It's like, we're going to have to fill this form in, and this is the way that you do it. It's process, and it's back to front. It doesn't happen in the world of e-commerce. It's how do we make life easier for the people interacting with us. So what does that journey look like? So you may have heard of well, you may not have heard of actually, Google ZMOT, which came out in 2012. And this is the zero moment of truth. That's what it stands for. So people go looking online, there's some kind of stimulus, they see something they care about, and they start on a journey. And then they check you out. They go and look at you, they see what you like, who you are as a person, they check the company out, the CEO. Incidentally, CEOs in the Edelman Trust Parameter, CEOs 2017 are the least trusted spokesperson on the planet. And we all put our CEOs everywhere. It's about people. The most trusted people online are peers and people just like you and me. So how do they find it online? What do they see? Then they apply for the job. And this is what it looks like in the candidate world. Candidates spend up to 6 hours checking you out. They look on average at about 14.5 sources of information. They don't just land on a job description page and decide to apply for the job. That's not what happens. Who shops online? Unless you're like my wife with the bankruptcy button in Amazon, you probably go around and research stuff. Who's been on holiday? Who used TripAdvisor? Yep, there you go. So we go around researching this stuff. You know this. Candidates do the same things. The question is, are you there when they go looking? Or are your competitors there? And how do you show up? And is the information there to answer the questions that are on their minds? Because if you don't, the candidate is in control, the experience is crap, and they're gone, and you've lost them. And you don't even know it. In B2B, B2B sales, something about 80% of a sale is made before they even speak to anybody. Before they even speak to anybody because they're doing the research online. Think about what the candidate's looking for. And really, the more digital and more tech that we have, the more human we need to be. We hear about AI, we hear about bots and chatbots, and the world's going to change. We've got driverless cars. We've now got these driverless lorries that are going to try on the roads. And this freaks me out a bit because I couldn't figure this out. And they're going to go in threes, and the driver's in the front one. What do they do when they get to a roundabout? I can't figure that out. What did he do? Is he going to go and go, oh, shit, we're going to have a crash? I can't figure that bit out. So anyway, there you go. But we've got all this technology that's happening around us. But we've got to remember about the humans. People feel first, think second. We need to become more human and focus on those people that we want to connect with. And the technology is the enabler. The technology is there to make our lives easier so we can have a human touch. So this is a slide that was in the book, actually. I'm guessing you've all heard of persona mapping now. It's been going around in this world for a couple of years. So this is your persona. This is the candidate that you want to connect with. And there's lots of ways of going around doing that. And again, if you follow the link, we can tell you how to do that. And this is like a marketing funnel. There's loads of marketing funnels, but just think see, think, do, delight. See is like awareness. They don't know us yet. Think and do is now they're thinking about us. They're looking for information. The do is how do we convert them? How do we get them to apply for the job? How do we get them to speak to us? How do we get them to engage? And delight is they're in a CRM or they're in an ATS. Okay, and the kind of catchphrase here is don't leave them in the ATS to die, because that's what we often do. We put them in there, we never speak to them again. And there's lots of things going on at this stage. Lots of questions and thoughts the candidates have got. And there are different types of questions at different phases of the funnel. And one of the challenges that we talk about with our clients is go and find out what the top 100 questions your candidates ask. Has anyone ever done that? Said, what things are on your mind? Has anyone ever done that? I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? You think about it. How many of you or your team speak to candidates every single day? Do you ever say, why did you almost not apply for the job? What were you looking for when you weren't sure? Was culture important to you? Was people important to you? Did you want to know such and such? Were you interested in the CEO? Did you trust what he had to say? Why don't we ask that? Because then, at ZMOT, when they go looking for this information, create content that connects and gives them a great experience. Kind of makes sense. So go challenge yourselves to find the top 100 questions throughout the funnel. Perception versus reality. This is an interesting one, this, because when we're building employer brands for companies, I won't mention the name of this one particular company, or I might do. If you get me later after that cocktail, I probably will do. Perceptions versus reality. We often hear with clients, so we go and speak to clients, we run these workshops, and we go, do you know what? When I actually got to meet the people who work here, the place is amazing. And it's like, well, great, but haven't we got to help people see the people before they get here to see that it's amazing? And there's one massive comms company, and I describe it, my vision of this thing is this big old comms company, and I call it like this big grey building. But when we did the workshops and we got inside, it was like 4D, high definition. How people felt and the experience that they had was incredible. They were so innovative. They've got all kinds of incredible technology that nobody knows about. We did the workshop and we're doing this exercise around perception and reality. And we're in this room, there's 12 people. And this guy, who's head of resourcing for this big company, I won't name names, goes, and we say, if you were going to leave today to go and start with another company, what is it that you'd want? What is the experience that you want? What would you be proud to say that you're working for? And he goes, I want to work with a company that does stuff with drones. The HRD stands up at the other end of the room and goes, don't you know we're doing stuff with drones on the Amazon? And he's like, holy shit, I didn't know that. It's simple, and this is a comms company, and no one tells each other anything. What's going on? So perception is reality, and it's dangerous. We work with L'Oreal because we're worth it. See what I did there? We work with L'Oreal. There's a perception with L'Oreal. But it's dangerous because when there's a perception of something that have a great experience, there's a greater chance of risk. And when there's risk, people can be disappointed. And when they're disappointed, they form an opinion on what they feel like about you as a brand. And that has a huge impact on how the candidate feels and thinks about you as an organization. And that is happening at Zmot. And you don't know it. So perception versus reality, we have an exercise for this. We need to rewire and rewrite people's perception. We do this for the power of your people. This is an exercise, very simple. Go away and try this at home. Don't try this at home, try this at work. And what we do is we go, before you got here, we put this on a thing, we go, before you got here, what did you hear and see about Company X? What did you think about it? What was on your mind before you got here? And then how did it make you feel? And then you go, once you're here, now that you're working here, what's it really like? What's reality? And then let's stretch the future. What would we like it to be? And then in there, in the during and after, you then need to uncover the stories and amplify them into Zmot to change people's perceptions before they get to you. Make sense? Really simple exercise. We have loads of fun. We were doing it in Holland the other week. Bri was doing it with in America. Such a simple exercise, but in there is gold dust. In there is gold dust, and it's in the power of your people. It's in the power of your people. This is not my dad. This is not my dad. There are tools that are out there that can help you go and find out the questions the candidates have on their minds. Yeah, it's definitely not my dad. This is called answerthepublic.com. And basically, it's a free tool. You can type in any subject, any word, and it will give you every question that's asked on the internet on that subject matter. Go and say, working at your company name, and go and find out what questions are on the candidate's mind. BuzzSumo this morning, newsflash on the way down here, BuzzSumo is a brilliant tool for content marketing. They've just released a test tool, and it looks at all the forums and everything, the questions, and it categorizes them. It's brilliant. I was playing with it this morning. Didn't have time for a slide. But BuzzSumo has done something better than this now. So go and check it out. And this is about doing some insights and research. Find out what people ask about who you are and how does it feel to work there. There are questions like around Google for .NET developers and PHP developers. What's it really like to be a PHP developer? They're not saying what's it like. They're saying what's it really like. And there's a difference. And you need to answer it and be truthful and uncover the human truths and put it in front of them. But we need to dig deep and be curious. So when we go looking at data and big data, keep hearing big data, big data, big data, big data, big data, drives me mad. But we need to dig deep and be curious. Data tells us what, humans tell us why. Data can help creativity get greater, but it's actually by speaking to people that makes the difference. It's where the magic happens. I would rather be in a room with 20 people than masses of data. We've got behavioral data, we've got attitudinal data, quantitative data, qualitative data. I can't say off the words because I'm a Scouser. Struggle with some words. But we need to go out. We need to go out and find out. We need to have voice of the customer. So Stephen Covey talks about the problem with communication is we listen to reply, not to understand. And it's true. We're already thinking of an answer before somebody said something, and it's not right. But in the world of understanding our customers, our candidates, our employees, the people who've left us, we need to listen really well. So let me tell you a story, like stories. So we work with BAE. Okay. Does everyone know who BAE is? So BAE bought a company called Detica, and we were working on their EVP and their employer brand, all that kind of stuff. And the problem is, with this part of the company, is they can't tell you what you're going to be working on. It's all top secret. It's like they write the code for James Bond's toys for MI5 and MI6 and GCHQ and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, we can't tell you what you do. So I was like, oh, we're in the shit here. What are we going to do here? So I was like, let's do some user groups with the hiring managers, the pesky hiring managers. Okay. So we organised these user groups, and we just started to ask questions. Data tells us what, humans tell us why. So we're playing this game. Some of them are a bit geeky, they're into tech, and sometimes a little bit hard to get on with. But, we're using a bit of charm, sophistication, and panache, and we're chatting away with him. And so I was saying, and he's going, well, we don't know really what to say. So I pulled this hiring manager, and I said, come on, mate. What do you say when a candidate's in front of you? And we've been talking about the difference we make, the challenge, what it's really like in expertise. And they were the themes that kept coming out. They said, well, we make such a difference to everybody's worlds. We help save traffic lights, we save our kids, but we can't tell you exactly what we do. And it's really challenging. We work with brilliant minds. So I was like, but what do you say to candidates? And this guy perked up, really nice guy, head systems architect, should be the PM. Genius guy, very personable. For a geeky guy, it's a rare thing. He was a lovely chap. So I said, what do you say? He goes, it's dead easy. It's really easy. I said, what do you say? And I said, come on, let's play again. So imagine I'm the candidate. He goes, right, okay. He goes, what I do is I take them back to childhood. And childhood's a really good way of starting to connect with somebody emotionally in your brain. And he said, do you remember when you were 14, you got your first computer? And the candidate's like, yeah, I remember that. He goes, well, I used to have a ZX Spectrum. Does anyone remember a ZX Spectrum? Alan, you'll remember a ZX Spectrum. Right? And he used to press the buttons. In fact, you probably, run it chalk and everything, yeah? So you press the buttons and the whole world. He goes, and I used to love writing code. And I used to buy the magazine and make the games by writing the code. And the candidate goes, well, my first computer was this piece. And do you know what? I used to do the same thing. And he goes, the hiring manager goes, my ambition was to write code that got put in the magazine. And this kid's going, oh, yeah, and I used to play with electronics and all this. And he goes, do you know what? We're very, very similar, me and you. We're very, very similar. He said, when I was doing my A-levels and I was about to go to university, my computer science degree, when I was doing it, I used to think, what is the coolest job in the world that I could do that makes a real difference, is challenging, and has an impact on the world? I now do that job. And the penny dropped in the room because he told an emotional, curious story, and it was real life. And because of that, the Unseen Heroes Wanted was born. And that wouldn't have happened through surveys and spreadsheets. It only happened because we listened well and asked questions and played around and toyed around. So the magic is in your people. The question is how often do you speak to them? Your hiring managers will all be saying different things, but some of them will be telling magical tales that are real life that should become brand legends. And you should all be saying the same thing. You should all know these stories. So you take all that information, you build some personas. I'm not going to go mad on personas because I think there's been sessions on them. But personas are really, really important because it gives you the guidance and the compass of how to connect with individuals. And if you haven't done persona mapping, you should stop what you're doing and stop throwing out job adverts or whatever you're doing in terms of recruitment marketing, be it content, social, job adverts, whatever it is on LinkedIn. Because how do you know what you're doing is right to connect with the person that you want to talk to? If you went into a pub and there was an HR manager, the conversation you'd have with the HR manager is going to be completely different to the IT manager because they're completely different people. You're not going to say the same thing. So this gives you an example. We look at what's going on in Google and keywords, their worries, their concerns, where they hang out, their behaviors. And it gives us that lens. And it's a starting point to build strategic and tactical plans to connect with them and start building communities of them. We then look to tell stories. So everybody's into storytelling in the world of marketing. It's a massive word that's been going around for a couple of years. But Bri did a load of research on Hollywood formulas, and there's six Hollywood formula films, but The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell is the one that every film sort of has. Anyone seen Star Wars? The girls are nodding. That's a rarity. Thank Christ for that. Okay, thank God for that. So Luke Skywalker is the reluctant hero. I can't wait, by the way, for the next film in December. Luke Skywalker is the reluctant hero. He meets Obi-Wan, and as Obi-Wan goes, I see great in you. I believe you can be a Jedi like your father. He starts going into the mentor role. And he goes, here is your father's lightsaber. I believe I can train you, and you can save the princess, who it turns out is sister, which is a bit weird. You can save the princess and save the galaxy. And he's unsure, he's reluctant. So he runs back off, and something happens. His family get killed, which is shit, to be fair. And then he goes back to Obi-Wan. He goes, Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan. I want to save the planet. I want to save the universe. Help me. So he becomes now the hero, and he goes off and saves the universe. Your candidates are the reluctant heroes. Your job as the business is to act as the mentor and give them the lightsabers and the tools to do their job as they move through the process, move into onboarding and become an employee. You are the mentors. You just need to keep training them and then pass them on to Yoda. Yoda was great, by the way. Pass them on to Yoda. It's exactly the same. The hero's journey is all that you've got to do. Connect with the reluctant hero. Talk to them in their language, show them people that are just like themselves, and they start to believe through your mentorship, advice, help, support, and encouragement, and the tools for the job to become the hero in your organization. An EVP, oh my God. Do I have some conversations about EVP, an employee value proposition? Okay. It's not what you do, it's who you are and how you make people feel. It's what it's like day to day. And the beauty of stories is that when a story ends, we can have the second part. Star Wars has got lots of parts. And Power's just been announced, hasn't it? Power Series 5, I don't know who wants Power. Power's pretty cool. And it's about how do we keep the story going. Now, celebrate your heritage, and you should be proud of it, but too many companies are obsessed with the past. The reluctant hero wants to know about your heritage, but they want to know what part they can play in your next chapter. That's what they want to know. So imagine your EVP is a book. Think about the things that are important to you and important to them. Think about a chapter on what it feels like to work there, what the culture's like, what diversity means to you, what reward is like, what innovation that you're doing. And think about the chapters and apply your EVP through the chapters and tell stories through the power of your people. And amplify that in front of those reluctant heroes that see themselves like people like you've already got, and it's a mirror reflection. It's a mirror reflection. And we have EVP, but don't forget PVP, which is the people value proposition. Because some of your EVP, some candidates won't give a shit, but there will be a theme or a pillar that really resonates with them. So imagine I'm the IT person checking you out at Zmot. Yes, your EVP is of interest to me, but I'm probably interested in one or two things. There might be part of your culture I'm interested in. You might be a pioneering company and you work a lot in tech. And it might be that you give great career progression. Millennials want career progression. Generation Z are actually really interested in your CSR. So you need to talk to them about your CSR. So we're talking to them about stuff that's interest. So if we were in the pub, the way I sort of visualize this is, you figure out you go in the pub, you speak to Generation Z, and you start talking about what it feels like to work on CSR. And it's where the connection happens, and you've got a better chance of having interactions. So where there's similarity, that equals interactions. We get more interactions with people. So we work with Virgin Media, and I did a talk a couple of years ago now, and Graham's not at Virgin now. He's moved on to bigger and better things. Well, don't say that if anyone's in Virgin Media. It's shit. But I was sat in a room with him, and we were talking about EVP. And I'm going, well, come on, Graham, what's EVP? And he goes, da-da! He gets his website up. And I was like, okay. So we've got insatiable curiosity, delightful boost, smart disruption, all this kind of stuff. And I said, so this heartfelt service, what does that mean? So he clicks a button, and it shows me a paragraph. I was like, oh, okay, is that what it means? And I was like, words just prove who you want to be. Actions prove who you are. Actions prove who you are. So I said, forget that. We're obsessed. But, employer brand and EVP, it's not words, it's actions and behaviours. So tell me a story that brings that alive. And he goes, no problem. Got loads of them. So he tells me this story about Paul and Patrick. Patrick is about 74. He's recently lost his wife. He's living on his own. And he lives downstairs now because he can't get up the stairs. He's on oxygen. His family live miles away. And it's coming up to Christmas. So his family order, phone up Virgin Media, get him a TiVo box, get him loads of everything. So he's got an entertainment at Christmas. So Paul is the field engineer. Paul turns up 4 or 5 days before Christmas. Hey, Patrick, how's it going? I'm Paul. I'm going to fit your TiVo box. And starts talking to him, makes a connection. Oh, you support QPR? Did you see the game? Blah, blah, blah. Right, we're going to sort this out. So he fits the box, makes him a cup of tea, sits down on the sofa, shows him how it all works, makes another cup of tea. Really nice talking to you, Patrick. Really cool. Happy Christmas. Off he goes. The next day, Patrick wakes up, gets off the sofa, goes over to the TiVo box, and tries to turn everything on, and he can't get it on. He's like, oh, what's going on here? So he goes back to his sofa, he phones his family up, he says, hey, I can't, whatever, Doris, whatever his family's called, hey, I can't get this going. What's going on? So they said, don't worry, we'll phone Virgin and see what we can do. I'm sure they can get it sorted for you before Christmas. So he phoned Virgin up. They're like, look, don't worry, we'll get somebody out. It's getting close, Christmas Eve. Look, I can get such and such out. He goes, well, tell you what, we can send Paul out. We can get him there Christmas Eve morning. How's that sound? Brilliant. So Paul turns up, knocks on the door. Hey, Patrick, how's it going? QPR were good the other night, weren't they? Let's make you a cup of tea. It was 2 sugars, wasn't it? Remembers all about Patrick, makes him a cup of tea. Walks up to the TiVo box. Works instantly. So he goes, that's weird. He's going, look, it's all working. Goes to put the telly on. There's the TV that's broke. So he goes, listen, Patrick, I'm really sorry. The box is working fine. It's the TV that's broke. Now, I'm not a telly engineer. Unfortunately, that's, you haven't bought the TV. Have you got any TVs anywhere else in the house? He's like, no. He goes, look, I'll fiddle around with it. He can't get it working. He really apologizes, says, Patrick, I'm really, really sorry. There's nothing I can do. Speak to your family, blah, blah, blah. So he goes off. Patrick's fine. Obviously got no telly, but he's fine. Paul sits in the van, and it's really grating on him. It's really, really grating on him. So he phones up his wife and explains what's happened. He starts his van. He drives to John Lewis. He walks into John Lewis, buys a TV with his own money, goes back to Patrick's house, goes, Patrick, happy Christmas, I've bought you a TV. That is heartfelt service. Now, when I tell that story, and I've told it a lot, I get goosebumps. Right? And if some of you got goosebumps, and I'm not the greatest jackanory person in the world, you'll remember that story forever, and you'll go, do you remember that story? That was people like Paul. So that people like Paul is a campaign to find 300 field sales engineers to deliver heartfelt service, because that's what matters. It's not the words on the screen. It's who you are and how you act and how you make people feel that remember people forever and ever and ever. I was chatting to Brian Monday and he threw these words at me. That story has empathy. We led with empathy. It creates curiosity and surprise. There's a surprise element. In the recruitment campaign, there will be a bit of an insight because it will lead to, this is what it's like to work here. And then, do you want to join us? Do you want to be a person like Paul? That could be a structure for a video, for your content, for your job descriptions. Job descriptions, not facts and figures. No one gives a shit. We've got to lead with empathy. We've got to lead with empathy. So we're going to give you the game to play, which can help with this. This was crazy for me. So I'm giving you some Jedi secrets here that we do in our agency to uncover some of this stuff, because I want you to go and find these stories, because they're going to change the way you think and who you are. So I've started doing this stuff for companies. People start to ask me to speak at company conferences. So does anyone know Matthew Jeffrey? Anyone heard of Matthew Jeffrey? Jeffrey at SAP is head of the global. If you meet him, he gets you pissed before you speak. He's a bastard. So the SAP's EVP is bring everything you are, become everything you want. That's their employer brand sort of EVP message. So he says, will you come and speak about storytelling in front of, they've got 315 people in talent. They brought them all to Hoffenheim. I was gutted because we beat Hoffenheim about 6 weeks later, and I could have really given them a load of stuff. But we couldn't anyway. So I was like, yeah, do that. And then he goes, phones, when he goes, oh, do you want to do an hour's workshop with everyone? 315 people. I'm like, fucking hell, I don't know how I'm going to do this. What am I going to do here? So it's like, I tell you what we do. We do this game which is kind of uncover your stories. Now, normally there's about 20 people in the room, but I reckon if we break it up into about 15 groups of 15 people, into groups of 4, and then we have each room break it down. I was going, yeah, we could probably do that in around 15 minutes. I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. Matt Jeffrey's like, yeah, we'll do that, no problem. So the way the game plays is this. I want you to go and do this with your teams. Take your EVP pillars, or the employer brand statement, or proposition. Or some people do it with culture. Some people do it with values because it's higher up the food chain. And the way that it works is you put them on a wall, and you get people from different levels of seniority, different levels of management, different job roles, lines of business. You put them in a room and go, see that there? See that bring everything you are, become everything you want? Tell me a story that you know of, whether it's you personally or someone in your team, that brings that alive, because that's what I did with Graham at Virgin. It's exactly what I did with Graham. So I did this with 315 people, and I kid you not, it was a bit scary. And what happened is we ended up with 16 stories, because there were 16 groups, 16 stories, 16 groups. And then they had to come down, and we talked to them. We had 4 on stage, and they told their story. And this is the lady who got up, and I can't tell you how emotional this was. This lady was a refugee from Iran. She fought like hell to get out of Iran. She went through all kinds of God knows what. She got to Germany, and somebody in SAP gave her an internship and gave this girl a chance and believed in her, mentored her, developed her, and now, 2 years later, she's a senior leader in SAP. Now, I'm not going to tell the whole journey because it was massively, but the moment that story stopped, the entire room got up and cheered her, and there were people in tears. Right? But SAP, because of that exercise, has 16 emotional stories now that can be played however they want, and that's the difference. All we've done is taken what we did with Graham and done it en masse. But you should be doing it to uncover the human truths, to turn these tales into brand legends. Because real heroes are only humans. Real heroes are only humans. Right now, you are sat next to real-life heroes. I bet you or somebody you work with have had a dramatic impact on somebody's life. Because that's what's brilliant about the world of talent. In marketing, which is where we originally came from, we make up emotion. John Lewis used penguins, bears, cats, dogs, snow, whatever, every Christmas to make up emotion, and we're kind of getting bored of it. But in the world of talent, people like Paul is a real-life story. And I actually think if you play that through, there's huge opportunity in this room now if you go and play that game, that you can actually change consumers' opinions about your brand through the power of telling stories about who you are and how you make people feel when you work there. There's a real opportunity here for the world of talent to impact the consumer if we go out and uncover these stories. People want to have a sense of belonging, and this is known as the science of homophily. Okay? And we don't put people in talent pools, right? If you put people in a pool and you leave them, they drown, right? It's talent communities where we need to nurture people and look after them. And there is science behind it. There's a science behind it. And it's a funny world, the world of talent. Because some of you are Mogwais and some of you are Gremlins. Has anyone seen Gremlins? Gremlins is a cool film, isn't it? Gremlins is a cool film. They should bring it back. They should reboot it. But it's a funny world. So in the agency world, is there any agencies here, recruitment agencies? And he snuck in. There you go, there's a few, look. Shh, I won't tell anyone. There's a few, but you could be like Gremlins, because it's like feed you after midnight, find the candidates, pass them, and get on with it. That's what it's like. It's like recruitment Tinder. Yes, no, yes. That's what it's like. You're laughing, you know it, don't you? You know it. You on Tinder? No, just test him, But we need to be like Mogwais. In marketing, it is about making friends for today, but it's also about making friends before we need them. And if we put people in a community and nurture them, we start to connect and make friends. That's what happens. When we give great experience, and it's multiple experiences, not just one, we start to build trust and make friends with people. So this is the example of Gremlins, right? So I get this shit every day in my inbox, right? This is a recruitment agency. There's a supposedly personalized email to me. It's personalized, by the way, because it has my name on it. Wow. Wow. And then literally a minute later, Jim, our operations director, gets exactly the same personalized email. Who gives a shit? You just go, delete. I hope you're not doing that. No, good. Delete, 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 delete. And then I got this. What the fuck is that? What is it? So I go, delete. It's just not good enough. We need to be a business of value first, success second. Success. We've got to add value. Our agency, our team, Bri, me, generosity, we massively believe in generosity. Generosity is the currency of influence and will build trust and real-life relationships. We have to give value first. Success will come afterwards. As long as you believe it, don't just fire crap at candidates they don't care about. We're doing workflows at the moment for Siemens, for nurturing. And some people just want to put jobs in there. Job. No one cares. That's not what candidates want in a community. In communities, we go to give. In networks, we go to get. Don't be living in a network. Live in a community and don't put people in pools. Give value first. Success will come second. And I've been looking into this. We can become charismatic. We can be charismatic. Now, people think that charisma is a gift, okay, and it's like a natural thing. But there's actually science behind how you can become charismatic. And I think we can do this as a business. So the face that we put on, we can start to be charismatic. And charismatic builds trust and brings people towards you and makes people listen. Now, there's a really good book by Olivia Fox-Cabane called The Charisma Myth. So I was checking this out, and I was on this at Sunday, and I was going down a wormhole reading all this stuff. And there's 3 things that matter. Being present. So when you go to a concert, everyone's iPhones like this, aren't they? People are trying to capture the moment rather than live the moment. That's what happens. Again, we listen to reply, not to understand. When I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. When you're talking back to me, I should be listening. I should be thinking about the response. I should be listening to understand. I should be being present and being there. Body language is how you show up when you're being there. How do you show up at ZMOT? What do people go looking for? Can they read it? Do you get shit emails with bubbles in it that no one cares about? Because nobody cares. And warmth. Warmth drives goodwill and enables trust. Help people out and just be nice. Just be nice. It's not hard. It's not hard. And neuroscience has proven this. We can create chemical connections. It's proven in neuroscience. And the chemical that does build trust is oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical that's released in our brain that when we start to connect with people, the more that we get, the more that we start to trust that person. And there's ways of creating oxytocin. Openness. Be open. Don't hide. Be open. Listen. Be human, be yourself, uncover those human truths, show real life people and care. Give a shit about people. It's not all about you. Be interested first and you'll become interesting. And this study was carried out and they wanted us to look at what were the things that made work enjoyable and made people trust working where they were and the people who they were with. Again, this was a neuroscience piece of study that was done. And what drove trust and enjoyment was purpose. People getting behind the purpose, not just this visionary purpose that's over there, but day-to-day purpose. Why am I doing what I do? You've probably heard of Simon Sinek start with why. Why do I do what I do? And actually, there's a real simple way of generating oxytocin. Stand up. Give me a cuddle. Yeah, there you go. Oh. Right? I've just hugged a superhero, and she's a Liverpool fan. But hugging releases oxytocin. I was going to make you all do that, by the way, but I felt sorry for you. I thought you all looked too comfy on your chairs. But hugging releases oxytocin. And it's actually known as the love drug, oxytocin. The more you're with somebody, the more you release oxytocin, and you begin to fall in love with them. So watch yourself. The more you release oxytocin. So now we need to think about how do we do digital hugs? Because if we can create digital hugs and help release oxytocin and talk about our purpose and day-to-day through our real-life people, we can connect through empathy, create curiosity and surprise. We can then build experiences that might give people goosebumps, and they aspire to want to work with us, and they will remember us forever. They will remember us and talk about us forever. We can inspire, educate, convince, entertain. There's lots of different ways of doing content. Lots of different ways. I could talk. I'll do a whole thing called the C word, but that's for another tale. And this is the candidate ID, boys. How do we nurture them? Digital hug, digital hug, digital hug, digital hug, digital hug. And it goes on, employee experience, employee experience, employee experience. And it goes on and on and on. But what are we saying to people throughout the journey? Because remember, that is the people experience. And your brand experience is moments and moments between the moments. Every time they interact with you, every time they walk into their work, you're creating multiple moments and micro moments of experiences that builds an opinion on how they feel about you. But we want to nurture candidates along through content. And it's not about jobs. So this is a simple framework. In the B2B world, this is kind of classic. It's not about jobs. So imagine you've got a CRM. Speak to Scott. Beamery's another CRM. This is something that you might do in terms of workflow. And what we like to do is think about where's the human interaction? Because we've got machines, and machines are the enablers. But when does the human interaction, the human touch come in? So they fill in something, they drop into one of your talent communities, not pools. And you offer help that solves point one. And then you say, hey, we'd love to see what you thought about that. And every time they do something, they're given points. And what do points make? That was shit. What do points make? There we go. Maybe shouldn't have done that. It's just died, hasn't he? Forgot about that. Good game. So then we go on. Just been thinking about you. People who found that useful also found this useful. Help, support, encouragement, nurture, value, 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 digital hug, digital hug, digital hug, trust, empathy, oxytocin. And that's what we need to be doing. And then at the right time, at the right place, as they build up the points and the lead scores happening with the candidate, there's a trigger that says, this person's been all over your brand. They're reading all your content. They love that email you sent them that was of interest to them. It wasn't those stupid bubbles. You should check them out. You should maybe phone them and say, hey, how's it going? We've got a job that's of interest to you. That's how we should be. Add value and be nice. So, just to give you a bit of a flavour of something that we've done, I suppose. Virgin Media, we've done loads of work at Virgin Media. We did a lot of work in candidate experience. That's for another day. Although what we found out was 6% of candidates cancelled their TiVo box within 4 weeks of the recruitment process. They lost £4.5 million a year. They shit themselves, and we did loads of stuff. But the mission, or the purpose for the resourcing team was, do you know what? There's a perception versus reality. As soon as you put the Virgin brand on anything, it's Disney time with big smiles, and it's going to be sex, drugs, rock and roll, and I expect a world-class experience. But it's not quite like that, is it? We know it's not quite like that. But the mission or the purpose should be, let's just be the good guys and girls of recruitment. No matter what, every time they touch our brand in the recruitment process, let's try and help the candidate. And not even if they fail, let's not talk about failure. Let's go, do you know what, it wasn't quite right this time. It could be right next time, but do you know what we've learned about you? We've got this brilliant information that can help you out on your path towards a better career. Let's just be the good guys on recruitment. So we did loads of content. We created all kinds of playbooks to help them do that. And we designed a piece of tech which was, we call it Phoebe. They call it Vault. And it's a candidate experience portal. And it's It is Obi-Wan Kenobi. As they go through the recruitment process, it tells them where they are. It tells them what to expect next. And it says to them, how are you feeling right now? There's a pulse as they go along the way. How are you feeling? They can have a chat with us, and it gives them advice as they go along the way. And if they fail, it gives them better advice and says, here you go, this is for you. And it follows them through the journey. And it measures brand perception, how they feel. It measures happiness of hiring manager experience. So now we've got that journey, and we're understanding how they feel and what they think. Data and insights, real time. And it goes that journey. We create content. We've got Usain Bolt giving motivational messages, but we're giving content that helps. So if you think about their personas like door knockers, first or second jobs, they want to know, for instance, how do I make a first impression? What's going to happen to me? What's it going to feel like when I walk into that assessment centre? So we want to give them great advice that has a Virgin Media feel and experience towards the purpose of being the good guys and girls of recruitment. So then we did this. Cut the quack. So this is very much top of funnel, but we like to think about Trojan horse talent attraction. So how can you attract people? Build data, although GPD, whatever it is, we've got something of interest going on there, which I'm sure you're all obsessed with at the moment. How can we create something that really helps this first job audience, but we get their information? Marketeers are a bit sneaky like that. So we were like, I know, what can we do? And what we found is, again, in the workshops, the recruiters go, well, we only look at CVs for about 30 seconds. And they're full of shit anyway, and it's all buzzwords, and we don't really care about all the buzzwords and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wish we could just get rid of all this stuff. You're all nodding, some of you are nodding. So we were like, well, what if we could build a tool where they could copy and paste their stuff in? And the tool went, that's a load of crap, that's a load of crap, that's a load of crap, and you press a button and it changes it all. So that's how Cut the Quack was. It was basically Cut the Bullshit at first, but they wouldn't have that. So Cut the Quack was born, and this is a tool that's online. You can put everything in, and little ducks appear online. You shoot the ducks. It's a bit playful like that. And it gives them better words. You should put the competitor names in and see what it says then. That's quite funny. But what it's doing, it's collecting data. It's a Trojan horse attraction tool, but it's done by giving help. So we amplify that, that's one of those awards. But think about Trojan horse talent attraction tools. Think about how you can be earlier in the ZMOT journey and provide real help, but collect information and then nurture them through digital hugs. So just imagine, it had to be John Lennon in there. Just imagine that we didn't send shit emails. Imagine that you want to recruit someone like me. I know you would not want to do that, by the way. But if you really understood me as a business owner, yes, we're in the world of recruitment, but if he'd have sent me something that was like, we're going to help you assess talent. Right? I just want to make friends with everybody. I'm not the best person at assessing people. I don't know if I'm looking at someone and what things to do to make sure that person's world class to grow our agency. I can find them. I can have a chat with them and go and have a cheeky Peroni. But how do I get world class at understanding who they are? If that agency had offered me support to do that, I'd be interested. But they haven't taken the time to imagine what I might be interested in, and they haven't even put out the time to listen to who I am. So I'm just going to delete their email. So think about that, just imagine. And then there's an experience gap online. So we have things like analytics and all this data and stuff. But wouldn't it be great if, as people interacted with content, we could ask them how they feel about it? So we've got a tool called Phoebe. It's a free tool. You're all welcome to use it. Phoebe.love. You can put it on your content and your job descriptions. And as they're engaged with the content, it simply says, score of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this? And if you want, if they fill it in, you can reward them with a product. Digital hug all day long, but finding out what the experience is like of your content. The experience is like of your content. But it's not about just ideas. It's also about making ideas happen. And this is what people forget. We can have loads of ideas, but it's about activation and deployment. You lot have had a brilliant day today, I'm sure. And it's soon jingle jingle time. But don't walk out of here without taking some action and committing to one thing. Now, in my world, that might be, do you know what? I'm going to take that story idea, that game, and we're going to do that with our own internal team. But in the bigger wide world of activating the employer brand, often it starts with the internal piece. People go external because they think of recruitment, but what about internally? And if we're smart, by uncovering the stories internally and talking about the EVP and saying, what does that mean to you? How does it make you feel? That is actually helping you embed your EVP and uncovering stories to attract talent. So some of the key takeaways in terms of creating Goosebumps: listen to your audience. Go and speak to people, speak to candidates, speak to employees. Listen hard, don't listen to reply, listen to understand. Personalize what you do. Build oxytocin and build trust. And we do that, for more than anything, by just being human. And as Mary Angelou once said, people may forget what you said or did, but they'll never, ever forget how you made them feel. Thanks very much.